Ian Carr-Harris's photo work, Wendy Sage Being Compared of 1973, consists of two photographs of two women. The portrait on the left contains a prominent caption that reads, Wendy Sage being compared with Elizabeth Taylor. The portrait on the right needs no caption. The two women are bound in an asymmetrical relationship. The caption informs us of the identity of Wendy Sage, an otherwise anonymous person, but it also instructs us to see her in comparison to Elizabeth Taylor, a screen star who is the privileged model and lens through which we see, but also fail to see her own identity. To admire the one is, in the comparison, to recognize what is lacking in the other. Denis Villeneuve's film Enemy of 2013 explores the intricacies of surrogate identity. The narrative is firmly planted in the urban landscape of Toronto, a city whose self-image derives in part from its custom of playing as film set proxy for other cities. The scenario is vertiginous. Actor Jake Gyllenhaal plays two leading roles. His first character, named Adam Bell, is a history professor who teaches the concept of historic recurrence, a pattern, as he explains in the film, that repeats itself throughout history. Gyllenhaal's second character, named Anthony Clare, is a second-rate actor with the adopted stage name of Daniel St. Clair. The plot is structured by the gravitational pull that the two characters exert on one another. The story begins when Adam Bell rents a DVD and is surprised to notice that an actor with whom he shares an uncanny resemblance plays the marginal role of an extra in the background of an otherwise unremarkable scene. The historian becomes obsessed with finding the actor, who, it turns out, also lives in Toronto. By impersonating him, Bell manages to obtain Anthony Clare's address and phone number. During a pivotal scene, the historian calls the number and ends up speaking with the actor's wife, who mistakes his voice for her husband's.
Hello?
Good afternoon.
Hey.
I'm calling to speak
Where
to...
are you calling from?
I'm sorry. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm calling to speak to Daniel St. Clair.
Anthony, you called home.
I'm sorry. I don't understand.
What are you doing?
My name's not Anthony.
You're not Anthony.
No. I'm calling to speak to Daniel St. Clair, the actor. If I'm not mistaken, that's Anthony Clair's name that he uses for the movies, for his work.
Right. Right. Well, Daniel isn't here right now. Maybe I can get him to call you back.
Okay, I'm sorry to bother you.
What?
What? Well,
Who is this? Hello? Who is this?
Oh, he doesn't know me. No. Okay, I'll
Anthony?
call back later.
In a sense, this is a straightforward case of mistaken identity. A person is confused for being a person that he is not. As the plot thickens, however, and as haunting views of Toronto cast the city as a character in its own right, this act of calling home reveals deeper entanglements. The dynamic between the two characters is fascinating for its allegorical depiction of surrogate identities.
I told you.
A historian searches for his reflection in an actor playing the part of an extra in the background of a film. And an actor is bewildered to recognize his self-image in a historian studying the recurrent patterns that underlie experience. The landscape of Toronto plays a central role in the film, inviting readings of Enemy as an allegory of place under the spell of substitute identities. This city is a major North American production center for film and television. Although hundreds of films are shot in Toronto each year, the setting of their plots predominantly tends to be in cities of the US. This city's surrogate role as Hollywood North means, in the words of Aurora Wallace, that Toronto is made coherent from the outside, through its filmic representation of something other than it is. Enemy articulates the drama of reciprocated, and particularly of unreciprocated looking, of a city haunted by its long custom of acting like somewhere else. The well-mannered historian is keen to meet the self-confident actor, as if to ask him, "Do you see what I mean?"
Show me your hands, man. Why? Come on, show me your hands.
A kind of secret pact ensures that the two characters appear together only in the absence of others. This endows their communication with a tacit, almost spectral synergy. The scene of their first face-to-face encounter is one of almost wordless looking. Much is conveyed in an exchange of glances that alternate between fear and curiosity, tenderness and embarrassment, confusion and mutual comprehension. I'm convinced that Toronto's much vaunted insecurity provides the cultural foundation for a science of surrogate intelligence. The artist group General Idea provides what is perhaps the most sustained and far-reaching artistic formulation of its principles. They wrote, "We started this research from a word and a little intuition. We had the situations, but we needed a word to put our finger on it. The words borderline case were chosen because they got under our skin. Driving the wedge down deep through the center and splitting the images in halves. Casting our image in the mirror revealed a cast of two. We're not the one we used to be. We're getting our act together to act out our fantasies in person on our persons. Our favorite spot for border crossing is right between the lines." From the outside, the city's highly attuned sense of existential ambiguity is temptingly dismissed as a sign of youthful immaturity, provincial insecurity, parochial regionalism, queer narcissism, or feminine sense of lack. There is something in the rigged situation of surrogate identity that makes hostile dismissal tempting, but wrong-headed. Just ask Wendy Sage. Ambiguity, General Idea reminds us, is not a symptom of a schizophrenic who travels back and forth across the line, but a quality of the border dweller who performs in the stolen moments.